A powerful tycoon had poured fortunes into every hospital, clinic, and sacred shrine he could find, all in the desperate hope of curing his daughter's silence. But nothing, no doctor, no prayer, no treatment, brought her a voice. One afternoon, in the heart of a bustling square, something unexpected happened. A ragged child stepped forward, offering a cloudy drink in a battered bottle. The onlookers laughed at the sight, mocking the absurdity. The father's face turned red with anger, certain it was poison. But when the poor child raised the bottle to her own lips, what followed defied belief, and just a single word shattered the world they thought they knew. Before we jump deeper into this tale, drop a comment with the time where you are and the place you're watching from. Now here we go. The square was alive with noise, vendors calling out, shoes scuffing against the stones, voices colliding in the air. Yet none of it touched Elena. For her, there was only the unending weight of silence pressing down. At 7 years old, the golden-haired girl had never spoken a word. Specialists had tested her, teachers had tried, even holy men had prayed, but every effort ended the same way, in silence. Her father's endless wealth could not buy what she lacked. She stood by the marble fountain, her neat blue vest buttoned over a checked shirt, her fair hair glimmering like a crown in the sun. Her eyes darted with curiosity, following faces in the crowd, but her lips stayed closed as always. Then a shadow moved into her path. It was another child, just slightly older, yet her life couldn't have been more different. Her dark skin bore the dust of the streets, her threadbare gray top clung to her thin frame, her braids tied with a faded ribbon. Her palms were cracked from scavenging and stretching out for scraps. Nobody in the city cared to know her name. To them, she was invisible. Her name was Mara. Mara stepped closer, hugging a dented plastic bottle to her chest. Inside swirled a muddy liquid, pale brown with tiny flecks drifting about. It wasn't water, it wasn't juice. Just strange, suspicious. But her gaze was fixed on Elena. "You're thirsty, aren't you?" Elena blinked, her throat burning like sand under the sun. She tried to swallow, but the dryness scraped her insides raw. No words came, only silence. Mara took a cautious step forward, her voice dropping to a hushed tone. "I've been watching you. You keep clutching your throat like it's begging for relief. I know that pain. I've seen it before." She lifted the battered bottle with both hands and extended it. "Here, just a little sip. It might help you." Elena froze in place. Her father's voice rang sharply in her mind. Never accept anything from strangers, especially beggars on the street. Yet her eyes couldn't leave the strange liquid swirling in the bottle. Mara nudged it closer, her tone now sharp, edged with urgency. "Don't look at me like I'm mad. I know exactly what this is. My grandmother gave it to me before she passed. She told me it carried strength, something more than ordinary. It's the last thing of hers I've held on to." Elena's small fingers quivered at her sides. Her lips parted as if to speak, but no sound escaped. "You can't talk, can you?" Mara murmured, narrowing her gaze. "That's why you watch but never reply. You're trapped in silence, the same way I'm trapped in shadows. People don't see me either." The words landed heavy, each one pressing against Elena's chest as though Mara had spoken her secret aloud. Her breathing quickened. "So drink," Mara urged again, lifting the bottle higher. "What could you possibly lose?" Just then, a wealthy couple strolled past. The man sneered, his voice dripping with scorn. "Pathetic. She's feeding that child garbage." His wife wrinkled her nose and tugged him along, not sparing a glance. Mara's cheeks burned, shame threatening to swallow her. Still she didn't lower the bottle. "Do you hear them? That's all I ever am to them, filth, rubbish. But this." She shook the bottle, the murky liquid catching the light. "This is all I own, and I swear on my life it's no poison. It kept me breathing when the world left me with nothing." Elena met Mara's gaze. There was no trickery there, only a raw honesty, desperate and aching for someone to believe her. Her small fingers trembled as she reached forward. Her pale hand closed around the sticky plastic, and Mara carefully lifted it toward her lips. "Just a taste," Mara instructed firmly. "Don't gulp. Let it touch your throat first." Elena tipped the bottle. The liquid brushed her tongue, earthy, bitter, sharp, unlike anything she had ever known. She gagged, coughing as tears pricked her eyes. "Gently," Mara cried, yanking the bottle back. "Don't spit it out, keep it there. That's how it works." Elena coughed again, clutching her neck, but she did not let the liquid fall. She swallowed. Then her eyes widened. Something warm was spreading inside her, a tingling heat running down her throat, alive and strange. Mara's hardened face softened, a fragile smile breaking through. "Yes, that's it. You'll feel it. Maybe it will give you what it once gave me." Elena blinked in confusion, tilting her head. "I was dying once," Mara blurted, her voice trembling with urgency. "Couldn't breathe, couldn't move. My grandmother made this drink and forced it into me. By the next morning I was alive. The doctors said it was hopeless, but she knew better. She called it her blessing." Elena clutched the bottle tighter. For the first time in her 7 years, something pressed against her throat, an unfamiliar pressure, as though a sound long imprisoned was fighting to break free. "Step away from her." The roar split the square. A tall man stormed forward, his polished shoes striking hard against the stone. His fists were clenched, his face dark with rage and fear. Mara froze, pressing the bottle tight to her chest as though it were armor. "I didn't hurt her," she cried, her voice cracking. "I swear I didn't." "Silence," the man thundered, his voice echoing across the crowd. "How dare you poison my child with that gutter filth?" Gasps rippled through the square. Well-dressed men and jeweled women pressed closer, whispering and pointing. To them it was scandalous, a street beggar forcing something foul on the daughter of a wealthy magnate. Everyone assumed disaster. Elena trembled, caught between two worlds, her tiny hand pressed to her throat, her eyes flicking from her furious father to the ragged girl who had dared to offer what no doctor, no priest, no scholar ever could. She was thirsty. Mara cried, her voice raw with urgency. I saw it in her eyes. She couldn't ask, couldn't speak, but I knew. I gave her what my grandmother gave me. I just wanted to help. The man's face darkened with fury. He yanked his daughter behind him, shielding her as though from an attack. Do you even understand who she is? Do you know what you've done? You may have poisoned her. Mara's chin quivered, but her gaze didn't falter. No, look at her. She's not poisoned. He turned toward Elena, ready to unleash his anger on her too, but froze. The child's chest heaved as if her ribs could barely contain her breath. Her lips trembled, shaping a sound that seemed impossible. She opened her mouth, and a fragile, broken cry escaped. Papa! The crowd erupted. The man staggered backward, the words striking harder than any blow. For 7 long years he had pleaded with heaven, emptied his fortune into cures, and yet not a whisper had ever left her lips. Now, here in a dirty square, after tasting from a beggar's cracked bottle, his daughter had spoken. His eyes filled with tears. Elena, say it again. Her hand pressed against her throat, eyes wide with disbelief. Papa, Papa. The sound was cracked, shaky, but alive. His knees buckled. He pulled her into his arms, clutching her tightly as sobs tore from his chest. For years, he had dreamed of this moment, prayed for it, wept for it. And now it was real. Cautiously, Mara stepped forward, her hand still shaking as she held the bottle close. I told you it wasn't poison. It's the last thing my grandmother left me. She said it could mend what no doctor could ever touch. The man's tear-stained face hardened with suspicion. You expect me to believe that? That a ragged child with a filthy bottle succeeded where the greatest hospitals in the world failed? The crowd buzzed, half in wonder, half in doubt. Mara's eyes glistened as she lifted her chin. Believe whatever you want. I didn't do it for your trust. I gave her what I had, that's enough. It's a miracle, someone whispered. No, it's dangerous, another snapped. That drink could be anything. The man's hands trembled as he clung to his daughter, rage and disbelief boiling within him. He longed to call guards to sweep this ragged girl away, to erase her from sight. But then his daughter's small, fragile voice rose again, soft but unshakable. "Papa." The sound was faint, yet unmistakable, real beyond any doubt. A lump swelled in Victor's throat as he collapsed to his knees, clutching Elena tightly against his chest. He had sworn to give her everything: mansions, treasures, journeys across the world. But all his wealth, all his promises had failed. And now, it was a starving girl from the gutter who had handed his child the one gift money could never buy. Mara stood nearby, her tattered shirt tugged by the breeze, her face caught between defiance and dread. She half expected guards to seize her at any moment. But instead, Victor fixed his gaze on her. His voice cracked, torn between gratitude and suspicion. "Why? Why would you give this to her?" Mara's reply was quiet, but steady. "Because I know what it feels like to have no voice. And I wouldn't wish that silence on anyone." The square fell still. Her words carried more weight than any insult ever could. Victor shut his eyes, pride battling inside him, but the truth pressed harder than his ego. When he opened them, tears streaked down his face. "You saved my daughter." Mara's breath caught. She had never expected those words, least of all from a man like him. From his pocket, Victor pulled a silk handkerchief and gently placed it in her hand. "This is only a token. Nothing I could give will ever balance what you've done. But hear me well, you will not starve again. Not after today." Mara stared at the fine cloth in disbelief. For the first time in her life, someone wasn't looking at her with contempt. From the safety of her father's arms, Elena stretched out her small hand, her fingers brushing against Mara's rough ones. Her lips curved into a smile as she formed a word she had never spoken before. "Friend." Tears welled in Mara's eyes. The crowd gasped once more, but this time no laughter followed, only silence heavy with awe. Victor had wealth, authority, and the world at his feet. Yet it was a poor, forgotten girl with nothing but a strange potion who had unlocked his daughter's first words. And nothing, not his fury, not his pride, not the judgment of the city, could erase that miracle. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring tales that remind us wonders often come from the least expected hands. And tell us in the comments, would you have trusted the girl or turned her away?